What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my builds guide and unit review of Winter Edelgard, Dimitri, Yunaka and Byleth. Let us begin with Winter Edelgard, who is a lance armor this time, and she's got Black Yule Lance as the preferred weapon, so it gives her -1 special cooldown, and Armored Blaze becomes a 2 cooldown special, and if she runs Gale Force, then it's a 4 cooldown special. And if her HP is at or above 25%, and if she initiates combat in her player phase, then she's able to apply the Divine Vein Flame Terrain on 5 spaces in a line centered on foe space and 5 spaces behind them. So this is kind of similar to the Raging Flames Gambit that she has got in 3 houses, and this is going to be enabling her to set up the Flame Terrain, which armor units cannot really do because they cannot inherit Flared Sparrow. So having this is really unique in the weapon. And this flame terrain is going to be helping her do more damage, and also is going to be helping with the hit and run because it does act as a troublesome terrain for the ranged enemies to traverse over. So having this is going to be really good. And then she's going to be having the HP check again, and in the combat she's able to inflict -X debuff on foes' attack and defense, and this X depends on the number of adjacent allies of Winter Edelgard multiplied by 2 and then subtracted from 15. And this is going to be, at the bare minimum, going to be -6. It's going to be pretty hard to get the -6 debuff because it means that you need to be covered from all 4 sides with allies, and then you need to trigger a save skill in order to overlap an ally and get the minimum effect out of it. So basically she doesn't really want any kind of nearby allies, and that is not going to be that hard with her mobility from the Raging Tempest. And she can also get special jumping before her first attack. So the special jumping is the theme of this banner, and she's able to do it, and the condition for it is going to be same as a clash kill. So whoever initiated combat, it is going to be taking the start position and the end position into the account, and the max special jumping she can get from this is going to be 3. And if the foe is on a flame terrain, then it is going to be counting as the max condition for this, and it is going to be giving her +3 special jump. So unlike the special jumping that we have seen in Rally Spectrum, this actually works with defensive specials like Miracle and also specials like Gale Force. So being able to instantly charge up Gale Force is going to be amazing, and it does work really well with the extra movement and extra action that you can get from Raging Tempest. This also lets her nullify any kind of foe's non-special based percentage damage reduction skills. So at max she's able to completely pierce through any kind of damage reduction, which is absolutely insane with 47 base attack, and also while setting up flame terrain and having the special jumping. And if she's got the weapon strangle advantage, meaning that she's facing any kind of red opponent, or if the foe is on a flame tile, then she can negate any of the foe's non-special miracle effects. So it is going to be helping you against the foes that are supported by Fallen Maria or some Maria Mare, for example, or if they just have any kind of non-special miracle effects in their weapons. Edelgard is able to completely ignore that while also ignoring any kind of damage reduction, and also setting up the flame tile while having insanely high base attack of 47. And she also has Raging Tempest as her exclusive slot B skill, so this is going to be checking for her HP if it's at full, or if any kind of foe is present within 3 rows or 3 columns centered on Edelgard, and then it is going to be giving her +1 movement and also the charge status. So this is extremely good for armor units who usually have really bad mobility, but Edelgard is going to be able to get +1 movement, and even if she's going to be getting affected by the stalled status, she still has the charge status to make use of it and get the extra movement. And if she faces someone like Gatekeeper or Legendary Myr, who block the warping of charge status, then she can take advantage of the +1 movement. So this is an incredibly good effect for a player phase armor like her, and if she has got 1 or less ally adjacent to her, then she can inflict -5 attack and defense debuff on the foe, and also get true damage based on 15% of her attack. This is not going to be getting added for any kind of AoE special, and then she has got Gale Force built in the slot B skill. And if you run Gale Force as a special, then she's going to be able to act 3 times, which is what makes her pretty much the best player phase armor in the entire game, because she has got amazing power and also the bulk with 47 defense and 44 resistance, which also has a super boon. So she can be pretty tanky because of all of the attack debuffs that she can do, and with her mixed bulk. And she does come with a new skill in Armored Blaze, which is basically a melee variant of Armored Flow or Armored Beacon, because it is going to be giving you that unpierceable 40% damage reduction on foes' specials, and it is also going to be boosting up your damage by 40% of your defense. So it's a bit of a weaker bonfire for the damage output, but the damage reduction that you get from this is unpierceable, and that's why it is really valuable. And she's going to be making the full use out of these status effects and her bulk by having attack defense prime. So this is going to be giving her the distant counter effect if she's got 4 or more status effects active on her, and she already can get 2 status effects out of Raging Tempest. So if you have a good team composition, then you can easily give her 4 status at the same time by using Garrick, or by using Asker for his resonant blades and shields, or by running Aether or many of the other units that can give out these status effects. And even though distant counter has become a sacred seal now, which these melee units can use, the fact that she comes with attack defense prime in her base kit does mean that it's a lot easier to trigger it by just having good allies with her. And this is going to be enabling to use her all of her player phase capabilities and then tank in the enemy phase with all of the attack debuff and the mixed bulk that she has got. And she also comes with defense res ploy 3 as her slotsy skill. And this is pretty good on her because she does have that visible resistance to make use of this. And she can also get the defense and resistance debuff on the foe, and also get the ploy status, which is going to be getting rid of their bonus doubler status, treachery status, or even grand strategy, which Legendary Male Robin can support units with. An exposure status on the enemy does mean that you get 10 true damage on foe, and any of your allies can also do that. So this is a really good skill if you're going to be functioning without a save skill as an armor, because a lot of armors just end up becoming save tanks because of their mobility, but because Edelgard has got the tools of becoming a player phase armor and can do it better than pretty much anyone else, she does appreciate having this slotsy skill. And after using these winter units for more than 2 weeks, I do think that Winter Edelgard is the best unit out of this banner personally, because her player phase potential is just absolutely insane, and she can also function in the enemy phase, and she's also a really unique armor unit. And if you do want to fodder her, then she does have some good fodder with defense res ploy 3 and also armored blaze. And armored blaze is going to be amazing on many of the near safe tanks, as it is going to be giving that unpierceable damage reduction. So you can easily use this special on your near safe tanks that have a lot of defense, so that they're able to retaliate back with it if they have minus and special cooldown with steady breath or special fighter. And you're also able to do damage based on your high defense. If you're going to be using Winter Edelgard on a budget, then you can simply give her Mystic Boost Sacred Seal because she lacks any kind of self-healing from her kit. So this can help you in the in-game content like chain challenges or any kind of abyssal map, as you can just have this kind of healing to sustain yourself. And if you want to use her full player phase potential, then you should be running Gale Force as a special. I personally prefer having Gale Force over Armored Blaze because she already kills a lot of the things in one hit, and Gale Force is going to be helping her act 3 times, which is absolutely amazing for any kind of in-game content or even competitive content. And you can run Bullfighter because she doesn't really get any kind of guaranteed follow-up attack from this weapon, so it could help if you're really wanting some kind of auto double. But I do think that you can probably just run other Sacred Seals to power up her attack so that she can, again, just one-shot everything. But yeah, Gale Force is definitely something you should be giving her if you're going to be using her quite a lot. And that's why she is easily one of the best units in Aether Raids offense for the Gale Force teams, because Gale Force has never been this easy to trigger. You have the special jumping from the weapon, and that allows you to easily trigger Gale Force without Bolt Fighter. You don't really need Bolt Fighter in my opinion. And the units that you don't kill in a single hit, and if they have Hardy Fighter or any kind of defensive null follow-up or full null follow-up, then you're not going to be able to make the guaranteed follow-up attack anyways with your Bolt Fighter Sacred Seal. And you can just run Double Fury so that you can fall into the Wings of Mercy range of your allies. And you can even run plus HP IV on her because that is going to be making you immune to any kind of Hex Trap, and that is a huge thing in Aether Raids offense. So this has been the build which I've been using in Aether Raids offense quite a lot, and she functions so well. It's just Gale Force on autopilot because you don't really have to care about meeting any kind of checks of Heavy Blade or even triggering something like Bolt Fighter, and she can just kill a lot of things in a single attack. So that's why you can just run Fury Sacred Seal. You're going to be falling into the Wings of Mercy range of your allies in 3 combats. So she's going to be a really good Gale Force initiator and probably the best one in the game as of making this video. And if you really want to optimize her for Aether Raids offense, then you can try and run Pillarless Feud, especially in the Azure season, because the ploy skills debuffs don't really matter when Freya is going to be just cleansing them, and you're not going to be getting the Null's non-special miracle on her first initiation where you really need it against the Fallen Maria and some are Ymir teams, so they're going to be able to survive if they are a non-red foe and if the flame tile is not up, which is going to be the case when you initiate on them first. So that's why colorless feud could be something that you can try and optimize with. But even without this, she's just really good with the Gale Force strategies, and even for hit and run strategies, if you don't want to run the Double Fury build, even that could be done. And if you're going to be using her in Summoner Duels, then I do think that Miracle is the best special to be run, because Gale Force is not really needed and it does take up an action. And because of the action economy of Summoner Duels, you can try and run Miracle and be really annoying with it for your enemies after getting another action with Raging Tempest. And I did reach rank 1 in Summoner Duels S by using this kind of Miracle Winter Edelgard, so you can check out that video to see her in action. And Pulse Smoke can be an optimization that could be done for her in Summoner Duels, because you can just decharge the pre-charge special of the enemies, and that can make it really hard for the enemy to one-shot you without their special and with her Miracle active. So because of her weapon and the special jumping working with defensive specials, unlike Rally Spectrum, this is something that she's also able to do. And the Squad Ace BT Sacred Seal is also pretty good for getting extra physical bulk and more HP. Finally, if you're going to be using her in Arena at Plus and Merge, then you can run Distant Counter Sacred Seal, because it is going to be needed to make sure that she scores to her highest potential. And as of making this video, she's one of the highest scoring units in the game with this Sacred Seal. And you can also run Fire Flood Boost 3 so that you can get the guard effect in the combat and also get extra attack, HP, and magical bulk. Winter Yunaka is a colorless Dagger Cavalier with Silent Yule Knife as her preferred weapon. This is going to be enabling the Canto distance traveled. So the more distance you travel, the more Canto you get, and the max Canto you can get out of this is going to be Canto 3 if you move the whole 3 spaces. And then she's able to have the -1 special cooldown, making Moonbow Ruptured Sky a 1 cooldown special. And if her HP is at or above 25%, then she's able to get +5 to all of her stats and can get even more attack and speed depending on adjacent allies of Yunaka ×2 subtracted from 9. So just like Edelgard, Yunaka also wants to be solo so that she can get the max attack and speed. And then it also has the half null follow-up built in, the offensive half. So this allows you to bypass any kind of follow-up negation effects. And you also have Null Guard, which is really strong while having -1 special cooldown on a weapon. And she's able to get a lot of the player phase effects. So keep in mind that these effects are not going to be active in the enemy phase. And she's able to cut through the damage reduction of the enemies by 90% at max. So Winter Edelgard is able to completely pierce the damage reduction, while Yunaka can do it up to 90%. And she also gets her own damage reduction on foes' first attacks, including the brave hits. So she's able to get up to 90% damage reduction herself on the first attacks. And again, this is going to be depending on the clash condition, and the max is going to be 3. So you can get 90% damage reduction piercing and get yourself the 90% damage reduction. And if Yunaka is near a Divine Vein terrain or near a trench, then this is going to be getting counted as max 3. So it is going to be pretty easy for her to get all of the effects in the combat by moving the max spaces or by just setting up the flame terrain. And she also comes with the physical version of Occultist Strike and Assassin Strike, which is the tier 4 version of Poison Strike. And this is going to be dealing the 7 pre-combat damage as the combat begins. And it can also inflict -4 speed and defense debuff on the foe. And also you're able to get true damage based on 20% of foe in the combat. And this is going to be the best in slot scale for a lot of player phase nukes along with Flared Sparrow, because you're able to stack up a lot of pre-combat damage, and we don't really have any kind of counter to the pre-combat damage yet. And being able to get that kind of pre-combat damage along with 90% damage reduction piercing is really good with her offensive stat spread of 43 base attack and 47 base speed. And she does come with Fatal Smoke 4, which is going to be stopping any kind of recovery skills, and also it is going to be able to inflict the enemies with a deep wound status, and also by inflicting the null non-special miracle status. So this is going to be helping you quite a lot in Aether Raids defense, where Winter Yunaka is going to be seen a lot in the Cav lines or in the Flyer lines, and she could be run with the likes of Duo Sanaki, for example, and they both can pierce the damage reduction without really relying on their specials. Overall, Winter Yunaka is a really good Dagger Cavalier who's able to pierce the damage reduction of her enemies while getting the damage reduction herself and just casually getting like 90% damage reduction. So if you want to face her, you'll have to survive the pre-combat damage and also her damage reduction piercing, and you should be having your own damage reduction piercing so that she doesn't survive with the insane damage reduction she's able to get. And she also gets the damage reduction on the brave attacks, so using someone like Legendary Female Lear or Legendary Camilla for the damage reduction piercing is going to be helpful. And she also has amazing fodder in Flared Sparrow, Assassin Strike, and also Fatal Smoke 4, which you can get all at the same time if you get the prerequisite skills of it. And if you're going to be using Winter Yunaka, then you can just run Blade Session Sacred Seal. Lethality is not really something she needs because with her regular attack, she's able to pierce the damage reduction of the enemies up to 90%. So you don't really need to rely on lethality to cut through the damage reduction. And she can function well with her base kit, but if you want to replace some of the things in her kit, then you can try and running inside attack speed in her Slotsy so that she can get more offenses and more stats, because Fatal Smoke 4 is more of an Aether Raids defense skill, so this could be run if you have the resources, and you can actually run her as an amazing hit and run unit in Aether Raids offense with Disarm Trap 4. So it's a bit redundant with the half null follow-up that she already has with her weapon, and this is going to be helping you on stepping on the Hex traps, even though you're going to be trading off some of the damage output from Assassin Strike, but still it is going to be helpful in Aether Raids offense if you use her a lot. And Fatal Smoke 4 is going to be helping you with the Flared Sparrow because you're going to be able to set up the Flame Train and then run with the Canto. A lot of times you're going to be facing Canto control enemies. In that case, you should be running good teammates that can try and retreat her. Someone like Fallen Crom or Brave Crom who have the cavalry movement and also their assist in the preferred reposition. You can also run a lower cooldown special like Moonbow or Ruptured Sky if you have Peony or Plumeria with Firestorm Dance as part of your mythic core. So then she's going to be able to trigger the Desperation effect and the special on her double, which is going to be helping you just destroy a lot of the far safe tanks, especially the ones that depend on damage reduction and also on the guard effect, because Yunaka does have the null guard, so this could be a way of using it to your advantage, and she could be run in Aether Raids defense and function really well on the high threat range teams. And if you want to optimize her for Aether Raids defense, then I do think that you can run Desperation 4 because your Yunaka is going to be in the control of AI and they're not going to be able to dance her up every time with a Firestorm Dancer. So having actual Desperation 4 can help you, especially on the high threat range teams, because she's going to be able to charge up her Miracle. And it might seem weird that we're running Miracle on a nuke, but this is definitely there to create the stalemate against many of the Winter Byleths that are going to be having the Null Counter Disrupt in their weapon. And a lot of people are going to be using Winter Byleth for their tanking. And with this kind of Yunaka build on a flyer line, she's going to be able to charge up her Miracle with the special charges of Legendary Hinoka and just create the stalemate, because Winter Byleth doesn't really have any kind of auto follow-up attack. So Yunaka is able to survive their damage reduction piercing Supreme Heaven and just stay there and hopefully trigger Wings of Mercy of a Dancer. And if you don't really want to run her with Desperation 4 or with Legendary Hinoka, then you can just use her with her base kit and she's going to be doing a fantastic job. Winter Dimitri is an Axe Cavalier with Blue Yule Axe as his preferred weapon. This is going to be enabling the fixed Canto 2 movement, which is good as a Cavalier, and he doesn't really need to run any kind of Fortress skill or Alarm skill. This also gives him -1 special cooldown, making No Quarter into a 2 cooldown special. And at start of turn, if his HP is at or above 25%, then he can give himself the +6 attack and speed buff, and also the null follow-up status. And in the combat, he's going to be able to get +X to all of his stats, and this X is going to be dependent on 15% of his visible speed added by 5. So he's able to get a lot of extra stats in the combat, and then he also has the special jumping, which is going to be depending on the clash condition. So just like before, this is going to be counting the spaces moved by whoever initiated, and the max special jumping you can get is 3. And if you've got 4 or more positive status active on him, then he's going to be able to count this as the max 3 for the special jumping. And then finally, he's also able to heal up 7 HP after the combat. He also comes with a new special in No Quarter, which is a 3 cooldown special, but on Dimitri, it is going to be 2 cooldown. And with a special jumping, he can instantly trigger this, even in the Vantage range. So this is going to be a Draconic Aura special essentially for the damage, but if you're facing an armored foe, then this is going to be doing 40% of your attack. And it is going to be a damage reduction piercing special. This is not going to be available for any kind of armor unit, but infantry, flying, and cavalry allies can easily get this. So this is what makes Winter Dimitri into such a powerful unit, because he can get the Vantage from his slot B and also get the special jumping from his weapon and trigger this kind of special in the Vantage range. And he does come with attack speed prime 4 so that he can get the distant counter effect whenever he has got 4 or more bonus status effects active on him. And he is pretty self-sufficient in that regard because he's able to get the 4 status effects from this kit itself. He gets the null follow-up from his weapon, then the Vantage and dodge from his slot B, and then the foe penalty doubler effect from Panic Smoke. And he does come with his exclusive skill in Barbarity, so this is an upgraded version of Atrocity. It is going to be inflicting -4 attack speed and defense debuff on the foe, and also is going to be giving you true damage based on 25% of his incredibly high attack stat at base 47 with a super boon. So having this kind of true damage with damage reduction piercing is really strong, especially when he can get 40% damage reduction on foes' first attacks, including the brave hits, and then after the combat, he's going to be able to get the Vantage status and the dodge status. Now keep in mind that this Vantage status is something that we've seen with Winter Eltina before with her duo skill, but now it's available on this skill, and this kind of Vantage doesn't really need any kind of HP threshold. He's also able to give himself the dodge status, which is going to be stacking up with the damage reduction of this skill, and then he can inflict -6 spectrum debuffs on the target and foes within 3 spaces of the target foe. And he does have Panic Smoke 4, so it is going to be having good synergy with the debuffs he can do with his slot B skill, and also he can get another status effect for the prime skill. So having this kind of preferred skill is really cracked, especially with the tools that he has got. And keep in mind that even if the enemy has got some kind of hardy bearing Sacred Seal, he does have the dodge status and the damage reduction to fall back upon, and that way he can even fight the enemies that may have hardy bearing. Of course, the units with the fire sweep effect or the dazzling staff effect are going to be annoying because Dimitri doesn't really have any way of getting the null counter disrupt skill, and as it is not available on Cavaliers, so you'll have to watch out for that. But other than that, he's going to be functioning as pretty much the best Axe Cavalier in the game because he has got really good nuking potential in the player phase, and then after the combat he's able to get the Vantage status, which is going to be just really good for enemy phasing in any kind of game mode like Aether Raids offense or even in Summoner Duels. And he does have some amazing fodder and no quarter as the special, and you can also get Panic Smoke at the same time. Prime is something you're not going to be able to pick up, but then again we have got Distant Counter Sacred Seal now, which you can just run instead in the Sacred Seal slot of a lot of these units. And I usually don't really make a tier list of the good users of any kind of inedible skill, but I felt like I should be doing it. So this is not an exhaustive list, but still, this is going to be helping you highlight the best users of No Quarter Special. So rearmed units are going to be at the top, and if you're trying to duplicate No Quarter, then they're going to be the top choice, depending on the movement type. And when it comes to cavalry units, I do think that Legendary Seliph stands out because he has got an amazing enemy phase potential after his remix and refine, and he's able to also pierce the damage reduction by using No Quarter. We also have Brave Crom, who can make use of the prime skill and also run a lot of the other new skills like Snack 4 and Alarm attack speed. And No Quarter with the special charges of his weapon and minus and special cooldown is a really good option. And Brave Erica did get a pretty nice refine, and the only missing piece was damage reduction piercing, which she can now have access to. And she does have Null Guard with her slot B skill, so she's not going to be having much of a trouble when it comes to triggering this special. In tier 2, I do have some solid units who can make use of this, Brave Seliph being one of them. And Brave Seliph is going to be getting a refine in 2024, so this is going to be a really good option for him with Loudspeed Defense 4. And then we also have Female Shez with her summer version. Flow Desperation is going to be a good skill that she can run, and then Summer Ephraim does have his brave hits. Wind Tribe Dagger is actually pretty good with the special charges and her weapon, and Ares and Eldigan, even though they're pretty old, can make use of this in their Vantage range and pretty much function as a less good Winter Dimitri, but still, if you're big fans of them, then they're going to be option. And then Summer Dimitri, Legendary Xander, Legendary Ephraim, and Legendary Erica are all of the other options that can be useful if you have really invested heavily into them. And they do have the tools like special charges, for example, and it does allow them to pierce through the damage reduction for better nuking. When it comes to the flying units, I feel like any kind of melee flyer with Arcane Devourer is going to be able to easily make use of this because of these special charges, and then they can just run Guard Bearing 4. But out of the standout units, I do have Legendary Elincia, who does have the Null Guard to make full use out of no quarter while having a player face build. A lot of the flyers are going to be using this with guard bearing like Winter Cordelia, especially with the breath effect that she's got in her weapon. Rattlecatcher is also one of those staple units, and if you're a big Shez fan, then this could be an option if you're trying to run guard bearing 4. But keep in mind that you're going to be trading away some of the true damage that you could have gotten if you ran Gambit with a 5 cooldown special. Same goes for Shadows of Valentia Pala, and Hell has gotten good after her remix and refine. A lot of the tier 3 flyers can make use of this with good support, usually with Legend Hinoka. Tsubasa, for example, can make use of this with Cook and Pulse, and by running Legend Hinoka for the special charge status. Shadows of Valentia Katria did get a pretty nice refine as well, and Cormac is also going to be one of those options. And finally, when it comes to the infantry units, I think easily the best unit is going to be Brave Marth here, because he has got the Vantage in his weapon, which means that he can run Null Counter Disrupt because of being an infantry unit. And if you run him with Time Pulse 4 and use Brave Robin, then he's going to be able to retaliate back with no quarters in the Vantage range, even against any kind of unit with Fire Sweep effect or Dazzling effect with the Null Counter Disrupt. So he does stand out with this kind of weapon, and Young Marth can also do this, but you'll need to fall into the Vantage range manually by using Reciprocal Aid or Ardent Sacrifice, which Brave Marth doesn't really have to do. And Harkin is also really amazing with this kind of special because he already has these special charges and -1 special cooldown weapon. And we do have Larse and Ascended Fur that do have Time Pulse 4 built in their weapon. And if you're someone like me who got Time Pulse 4 on Larse in the Hollow forms, then this could be a way of using it with either Spring Bernadetta or Winter Bernadetta so that he can fall into the Vantage range with the use of Reciprocal Aid. So any kind of self-damaging unit is going to be helpful for setting this up. And then we also have Brave Dimitri, who is going to be able to pierce to the damage reduction and retaliate back with no quarter with the special charges in his weapon and also Time Pulse 4. A lot of times it is kind of annoying for him to tank many of the nukes nowadays because they have so much damage reduction, but no quarter is going to be one of the ways you can do it. And then Ocean did get a pretty nice refine with his damage reflection, and because he has got -1 special cooldown, you can just run a Pledge skill and retaliate back with no quarters, which are going to be doing a lot of damage with his damage reflection. And then Male Chess can pretty much do the same thing as Harkin and also function as a Vantage unit. And Ascended Marita does have the special cooldown and the special looping, but her weapon is not really as good as Larce's or Ascended Fur's. And then we have Fargus as a free-to-play arena unit, and because of his tempo skill and the -1 special cooldown weapon, he's easily able to retaliate back with this by running the Pledge Slotsy skill. As for building up Dimitri, he can just function with his base kit and having attack speed catch as a mixed phase offensive skill, and you can just run reposition, and he's going to be doing a fantastic job with the Vantage of Barbarity and all of the tools that he has got. He can also be using Aether Raids offense actually for hit and sit, because he doesn't really need to be near any kind of ally, and you can easily give him extra status effects with Asker, Genie, and many of the other mythics. So he can easily trigger his prime skill, and then he can stack up the HP so that he can have more HP than the Hex Traps so that he can initiate combat and then, have the Vantage and dot status from his slot B skill. Entering into combat is pretty important for Dimitri. He's not exactly a tank that you go in with and end turn and easily tank everything. You'll have to go in and then survive the combat. So Fatal Smoke 4 can be helpful if you wanna just get rid of any kind of healing or miracle effects on the enemies, because it can be annoying for his Vantage playstyle. And because he has got the damage reduction from his slot B skill, he can even try and survive many of the hardy bearing units. He does have his weaknesses, but I do think that he is an incredibly fun unit for Aether Raids offense usage with the Vantage that he can get. It's just that you'll have to engage in combat, and that's why stacking up his HP is going to be helping you. Winter Byleth is a sword armor, and he has got Holy Yule Blade as his preferred weapon, and this is going to be giving him -1 special cooldown, making Supreme Heaven into a 1 cooldown special, and he does have Distant Counter built in his weapon, so that just frees him up from running that in his slot A and Sacred Seal most of the time. And then if his HP is at or above 25%, then he can get +5 attack, defense, and resistance in combat, and he can get additional attack, defense, and resistance depending on 20% of his visible resistance stat. He does have Null Guard built in this weapon so that he can always retaliate back with Supreme Heavens. And finally, he has got the Super Scal effect built in this weapon, which is going to be taking the in-combat resistance for the resistance check, just like any kind of Scal skill. But the difference is that you're able to get triple Scal if you have the max condition here. And the condition is going to be the Clash condition, but it is going to be counting it as the max if a save skill triggers. And Winter Byleth already comes with Far Save, so the main way he's going to be functioning is as a Far Save tank, and then he also has the Null Counter Disrupt built in against the ranged enemies, kind of like Ascended Fiorm. So Winter Byleth is an extremely stacked Far Save tank, especially with Supreme Heaven, which is a better version of Sublime Heaven, which does pierce through the damage reduction skills, and also gives you the unpierceable 30% damage reduction like Armored Beacon or Armored Flow. So that thing is going to be helping you tank quite a lot, especially with all of the pierceable damage reduction that he has got with Weaving Fighter. And because of the Super Scal effect, he's going to be able to prevent the specials of the enemies, and even if they trigger their special, he is going to be having this kind of unpierceable damage reduction. And because of being a duo unit, he does have his duo skill, which can give him and the allies in 2 spaces the +6 defense and resistance buff, the Hexblade status, and also the 80% damage reduction against AoE specials that we have seen before on Goto. And he himself can get the Sevalin shield effect so that he's not going to be susceptible to the armor effective weapons, which is going to be good for the Summoner Duels usage and also for Arena usage because of his BST. And he does come with Weaving Fighter as the new tier 4 fighter skill, which is only available for the physical armors. The staff armors and the dragon armors cannot really have access to it. I do think that they're probably going to be making a resistance variant of this. So it is going to be inflicting -4 attack and defense debuff on the foe, and both unit and foe cannot make a follow-up attack. And you're going to be getting damage reduction on foe's first attack, including the brave hits, depending on if they can make a follow-up attack or not. So it is going to be taking the null follow-up enemies into the account. So if you face any kind of enemy who can double you, then you're going to be able to get 80% damage reduction on the first hits. Otherwise, you still get 40% damage reduction, and then you can get the 40% damage reduction on the follow-up attacks, including the brave hits. So having this kind of damage reduction against the brave hits is going to be really good, even if all of this is pierceable damage reduction. Still, Byleth has got a min-max stat line with really good mix bulk and also base 46 attack with a super boon. And keep in mind that they're going to be retaliating back with Supreme Heavens, so stuff like Windtribe Claude is not going to be doing too much to them because of the Super Scowl and also the damage reduction piercing. You can also fodder them for Fire Flood Boost 3 and Weaving Fighter, and Weaving Fighter is going to be a pretty good skill on many of the units, especially if you're an Edelgard fan, because this can be run on Fallen Edelgard if you're going to be using her as a near save tank or as a far savior, because you can get Special Fighter in the Sacred Seal, and you can still get the guard effect and the special charges, and it is going to be much better than her Armored Wall because you're able to get even more damage reduction and also damage reduction against the brave hits. Summer Edelgard can also make good use of this because of her dual phase brave weapon, and having a brave weapon while having Weaving Fighter that can stop the follow-up attacks is really good. And Flame Emperor did get a recent refine, so they can also make use of this, and Fomortis can also make use of this with Armored Beacon and a lot of damage reduction stacking. So it is going to be helping you in the Anima season where you can have insane nukes coming at your defense. And then Ninja Zalgius is also a really good option because he has got that kind of dual phase brave weapon, and same goes for Arden, but he's a bit old. But if you're a big Arden fan, then this could be something that you can run in a slot B now. If you're going to be running Winter Byleth, then you can just give them any kind of Sacred Seal that can boost up their attack and resistance, and they're going to be functioning fine with their base kit. You can try and give them other slotty skills like Distant Defense 4 or even Attack Resistance Unity, but Fire Flood Boost 3 is pretty nice because of its guard effect and the extra HP that they can get. And if you're going to be using them in Aether Raids offense, then I would suggest running Hardy Bearing Sacred Seal because you're going to be facing Flyer Line nukes with Desperation 4 and also Winter Yunaka, which I mentioned before. And Hardy Bearing Sacred Seal is going to be really good for protecting your Byleth against those kinds of units. Still, you'll have to watch out for units like Duo Sanaki, who can do a lot of damage to them and also pierce through their damage reduction of the Weaving Fighter. And finally, if you do plus and merge them, then they can function as one of the highest scoring arena units. with the distant counter Sacred Seal, which is a bit funny and redundant with the distant counter weapon, but that is pretty much the nature of arena scoring. So you'll have to run that if you want to get the max scoring on them. So I hope you all enjoyed this banner review. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps you tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I wish YouTube sub boxes were as good as these winter units. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.